I am Ray Dickey from South Carolina, Hudson Valley, CAI, and Association Help Now. We cover many different states. I appreciate you being here so much. I love the manager panels. They're very relaxed. Anything goes. I love commentary from the audience. Everyone has a, I haven't forgotten about the CUs. I'm just doing the CUs after I do my little spiel about the questions. Everybody has a question feature. That's how you communicate with us today. Please communicate. I absolutely love it. I love hearing from the audience. Many times they dictate the direction that we go in. Feel free to ask whatever you'd like. I'm the only person that sees the questions, and I don't use anyone's names. Disclaimer, don't send me anything too top secret in case I make a mistake or it gets out in the real world. But with that being said, I really just do appreciate the comments. A lot of people comment on what Dave wears. I'm very happy to receive those comments and give that feedback to Dave without any names. He's very much into fashion, so he likes a lot of comments.
I have to change for my meeting tonight with big man Tom Claus, so don't worry, Tom. I'll be ready.
Well, you should change. You should wear a tuxedo, Dave. Tom's very fancy. So he has certain standards. Before I have the panel introduce themselves, I am going to launch a poll. All right, so let's have our panel introduce themselves with who I see first, and that is Nikki.
Hi, everyone. Nikki Haddock. I am with McGriff, Marsh McLennan, out of base of our South Carolina office. I've been with our company for going on 22 years now. I work specifically with the community associations, and we work all over the country, but focus primarily in the Southeast region. So here I am.
Awesome. Dave.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dave Byrne. I'm the chairperson of my law firm's community association practice, Ansell Law, and I represent condominiums, homeowners associations, and cooperatives in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania.
Kristine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kristine Bates, the branch vice president for Associa New York, located here in the Hudson Valley area.
And Tom.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Tom Claus, I'm the community manager at Leisure Village Association in Lakewood, New Jersey. We're an age-restricted community, and I've been with the association for 26 years.
And, you know, someone in the audience is asking me, how do I dictate how many managers I have on? I always try to have 3. But I always, you know, the way the industry is, people legitimately have something come up. And it's always, you know what? It's a good segue. It's always water related, right, Kristine? I mean, that's what seems to happen most of the time when managers can't make it. It's something leaked. What do you think that's pretty accurate?
Anything could happen in property management at any moment, but water is definitely a big one.
And, you know, you can ask anything today, audience. We're not stuck here just talking about water the entire time. These segments are about talking about anything that you want to talk about, but I just like to have something to start with to get the ball rolling. Now, Tom, you have a lot of water at your place, right?
Yes. Well, if you're looking at the exterior, we have 7 lakes, and then, of course, we have 2 exterior swimming pools. So it's a lot of water.
Somebody actually just told me I forgot to do the introductions. I'm so glad that the audience knows better how these things work than I do sometimes. Actually, yeah, let me have Kristine tell us a little bit about what your job is, how many properties you manage, and what you do and what your properties are like.
Sure. So I'm the branch vice president for Associa New York Property Management Office. Our branch manages about 60 community associations, condos, co-ops, HOAs here in the Hudson Valley. And that's about it. I've been managing communities myself for over 15 years. And, you know, I have my PCAM as well.
Tom, someone is commenting, your stack of paperwork is making my anxiety go up. I need to come in and help.
My level is up there as well.
And oh, people are saying people don't realize how many associations there are in the Hudson Valley, New York. All right, so back to Tom. Tom, why don't you tell us a little bit about your community?
So once again, we're an age-restricted community located in Lakewood, New Jersey. We have just under 2,500 homes, approximately 460 acres, 51 miles of walkway, 21 miles of road. You know, once again, we have 7 lakes that we maintain. And we have a number of amenities such as 2 swimming pools, bocce, golf course, shuffleboard, etc.
That's a lot of water.
It's a lot of water, and a lot of issues come with those bodies of water too.
I'll be curious because there's people here from South Carolina where there's a tremendous amount of lakes and ponds. Being from New Jersey, what is your most common lake and pond issue?
Well, given the age of our community, which was the original construction goes back to 1963, there were very few standards in place back then. So construction was basically how the developer and the builder decided it should go. So most of our issues are culverts, dam structures, keeping up with the general maintenance on those and replacement of those features.
You actually have dams then, correct?
Yes, several dams.
So they're like a nightmare, right? The regulatory issues that can be involved with them. I don't think people realize. Can you touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, so the oversight is by DEP, right? So they're in charge of dams and streams. So you have to coordinate with them when you're dealing with various repairs and replacement of those structures.
Nikki, what's involved with the insurance on dams? Do people have to be in the outlook for something in particular, or are they just going to be covered?
I mean, it's specific on the GL carrier that you're working with as to what they may, and they may exclude it depending on the program they have, or you may need to get someone specialized with it. But you know, we don't see a lot of dams around here in this area that I'm aware of. But I had, I think, one down in Hilton Head that they worked with. So
there's a tremendous amount of dams, I believe, in the Charleston area, middle of the state, right? Because doesn't all the water,
yeah,
like if it rains in Greenville, it floods in Charleston like 2 days later, right?
right.
Kristine, how about the Hudson Valley area? I meant, are there a lot of dams?
Not really, no. There are a few, but I wouldn't say there's a massive amount.
I wonder if there's just not a lot, Dave, in Hudson Valley that relate to homeowner associations, because there's a lot of water up there, you know?
Yeah, well, especially since I think Kristine would agree with this. I mean, one of the attractive aspects of the area where Kristine really does her great work is the Hudson River, which, I mean, people who've never been to the Hudson River area in the fall, for instance, I would really have no appreciation for how amazing it is. And a lot of the development in that area all the way up is really trying to be connected to the river. So that creates, unique issues too.
All right, Tom, there's 2 comments and questions for you. And people want to get rid of this one particular item. One person is saying, is there anything in your paperwork about getting rid of geese? Getting rid of geese. Do you have a geese problem? And if you have, you solved it? And if so, how?
Well, I don't know if you actually ever solve a geese problem, but we do have a management program in place. So we do utilize a third party, and they come in randomly, almost daily. There's a lot of geese services out there. Presently, we're using geese chasers. I guess I'll give them a plug for them. And it's been very effective, keeping them on the move. You're always going to have transient geese, especially in our part of the Northeast here. But the idea is to try and keep them going. We also register each year for egg addling. This gives us authority through the various government agencies to go in there. If there are nesting, we can address the nests, and it definitely keeps any goslings under control. So that you minimize the amount of resident geese.
People are commenting that they use dogs and they do it's pronounced addling with the eggs, where they cover them with, and I know board members that do it. And there's, I don't mind using his name. Dave Chesky comes on our live streams, and he has a story where he was doing it once and he was attacked, and he was really on his kayak, and it was just like this horror story. I wish we had film footage of it.
You could
Dave,
do a reenactment. You could do a reenactment.
we should do reenactments. That would be, would you hold like a fake geese on like a line?
No, you got to dress up. You got to.
Yeah.
Tom, have you ever been attacked by a geese?
No,
Goose.
no.
Okay.
I leave that work for the professionals.
Dave, this question I get all the time. You may be surprised by it. If we have someone attacked by a goose or geese, are we liable? I get this. We've done full live streams on this.
I don't think so. I don't think you'd be able to come up with a claim. You'd have to, from a legal perspective, you'd have to establish that the association has some kind of duty. Most associations, their duty is limited to, maintaining, repairing, replacing common property, common elements. And a goose is not a common element unless I guess it's frozen in time there or something and falls on someone. But a live goose attacking someone, I can't imagine a theory which would involve that. Although I guess it's interesting to the extent the association is actively attempting to manage the geese population, perhaps a creative lawyer could argue that the association is voluntarily taking on a duty to control the population, but I still think that'd be a loser.
Someone, and this question comes up also not exactly like this, which is pretty funny. I apologize. If I go out and kill the geese as a manager, I know it's illegal. Will insurance cover any fines that I receive? Nikki, I think I know this one is probably out of frustration more than the person actually thinking they're going to do it. What's the answer on this?
And I apologize, my computer's having a little bit of issue, but yeah, I don't believe that there would be anything insurance wise for that. So,
Kristine,
what's the can I ask a question? Maybe the audience will be interested in this too. What exactly is the issue with having a lot of geese? Like, what's the impetus to control the population?
Oh my gosh!
Why do we do it?
Everybody, Dave, that's such an easy one. I'll let Tom go ahead.
It is? Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
the audience has already mentioned it in the comments, but go ahead, Tom. What is the big problem?
Definitely, the geese are a nuisance. And at one point, I think we had 200 or 300 resident geese on the property. It's a very large property and a lot of bodies of water, so very attractive. Problem is that the feces on the lawn and on the sidewalks creates a health concern for the residents. Their guests, a lot of them would have their children, grandchildren over. You don't want them exposed to them when they're walking their pets. It's a problem for their dogs and etc. Potential disease, transfer of disease. So it's a big issue. And
the geese are aggressive. They're like aggressive with other animals and people.
No, the biggest problem first, I think, and most people would agree, and the audience is agreeing, they crap all over the place, Dave. I mean, like a lot. This isn't like little bird. Kristine, do you want to describe it? You're familiar with, you know what? I'm going to ask you on the live stream, use your area of expertise and all your years of experience and describe what geese poop is like to Dave Byrne. Please go ahead, Kristine.
I would just say it's not attractive. I mean, it's not something that you want at the community association in the common areas. It's not
Dave,
a selling point.
It's about the size of a dog fecal matter for the most part. Sometimes it's not the same texture of it, but it's a lot.
Somebody slipped on it and then were injured, and then he had a failure to maintain.
Sometimes it's so bad, Dave, that you can't walk around it. Right, Tom? You can't walk through it. It's just everywhere.
I remember for a few years there, before we really had an aggressive program in place, I literally paid one employee just to go around on a power broom cleaning all the walkways.
Oh wow!
On a daily basis. So it could get quite messy. It's hard to really visualize without seeing it firsthand.
It's really bad. That's all I could tell you. Like you can't get away from it. You're not going to be able to walk through some areas without stepping in it, and it's huge. And it's almost like dog feces. A lot of people commenting, yeah, about the crap. Someone is commenting here, Tom, that there's some kind of spray you could put on the grass that, if you hear this, let me read it. Our animal control specialist has a product to spray in the grass that sends a signal to the geese that this is not a safe place for them. It's expensive, but worth it.
Yeah. So yeah, we have used that in the past. We only use it on our greens, and visually it does something to them to cause them to leave, but the product is extremely expensive. I can't imagine anyone using it on a very large scale.
I never even knew it existed. That's why I love doing these live streams. I always say I'm going to make a note, but I always forget. But I wouldn't mind like finding out about that because it sounds interesting. Kristine, a lot of people are commenting. By far, the geese crap is in the comments. By far. But
I can
geese
imagine.
attacks is second. They can be very aggressive. Kristine, have you ever been attacked by a Canadian geese?
No, I have not, thank goodness. I have heard stories, from homeowners of close calls, and especially with kids and stuff like that. So, I mean, I've always thought you leave wildlife alone, they'll leave you alone. That's been my theory, but I don't know. I've heard some stories.
Well, Tom, back me up on this. Sometimes you can't leave them alone because you get too close to their nest. Why don't you kind of take it from there? Reasons how even people minding their own business can get attacked.
Yeah, you don't have to be too close to the nests. They do, we a lot of times don't have a very large buffer between the walkway and the edge of the lake. So depending on how their nesting choices, they can become quite aggressive just from a passerby, just a pedestrian walking by.
Tom, if I remember right too, like I've heard stories of people being like double teamed, right? Is that true?
That I don't know. I usually one will stay with the nest, I understand, and the other will usually be the more aggressor one. I've actually had situations where the geese nested in someone's foundation area, so that was interesting to deal with.
Nikki, have you ever had a geese-related claim or animal-related claim? Someone's asking.
No, I have not, but I have had communities that have had some significant problems. And I'm sorry, I'm having some issues still with my computer, so I apologize. But yeah, I have not actually filed a claim based on for that, but I could see, potentially something could happen given some of these situations that these associations have.
What was the significant issue? Can you give me an example?
The one specific I'm thinking of, it was a block of about 5 different things, and they had walkways, interior walkways, and the geese were, bathroom everywhere on the walls, which could provide a trip hazard, definitely. So they were having to find ways to come out there and deal with it. So yeah, it could be an issue.
Now, Dave,
do
you feel like we've adequately educated you on the issues with geese? Because I know you're like a huge animal lover.
Yeah, no, I think you have. And I think Kristine's point was a good question or point or sort of assessment. I think a general, at least from my perspective, the general conventional wisdom is you leave an animal alone, animals leave you alone. They're looking just to live their lives. But there's got to be, I guess, some issue with the byproducts and the consequences of an animal. And it's, you can't have certain types of waste and things. It's just not safe for humans. I mean, it's just a natural thing. We control the planet, and I guess that's the way it goes.
Well, right.
If anyone in the audience could look up for me really quick how much a Canadian geese weighs. Tom, why don't you explain and then we'll move on, but how big these birds are?
Well, I think most people are pretty familiar with them. I mean, we have swans too, and some of them do get to the size of swans, but even beyond, first and foremost is the safety and health of your community, right? But there's the property damage impact. So a lot of our lake banks, we do not fertilize because we do not want that runoff into the lake with fertilization. So, you're trying to maintain that lake bank and the vegetation there, so you're not creating silting into the lake and runoff. And when these flocks of geese are in there and they're feeding along the lake bank, they do a tremendous amount of damage to the lawns. And those communities such as ours that have golf courses, it's a very expensive budget line to maintain that golf course. And if you have a flock of geese, they come in the evening hours when you're not around, they could do a heck of a lot of damage. And then you come in the following morning. So it's a constant process to keep that management going, and securing a good contractor that's willing to come various days and times throughout the day so that the geese do not get comfortable with those visits and get familiar with those visits. It goes a long way to controlling that the amount of geese you have on the community.
All right, so on average they weigh up to 14 pounds, but there's some species that can weigh up to 24. So Nikki, imagine like if somebody took like your turkey on Thanksgiving and just like threw it at you, basically from like 20 feet away, because that's basically the experience. So I mean,
So funny side note, I do a little bit of wildlife rehab rescue, and so geese is one of the that we tend to go out. And so yeah, they can be a handful. There's a lot to them that net gets away from you sometimes. So.
somebody's asking me, have I ever been attacked by a Canadian geese? Yeah, I was like a young boy. Well, of course I was. What do you think we do? We run around lakes and ponds and we bother Canadian geese. We're a bunch of morons when we're 12 years old. I've been chased by many. And I don't know if Tom and Dave want to, or Nichole and Kristine want to admit they ever did anything like that, or maybe I'm the only dope. Tom, did you ever do anything like that when you were a kid? Be honest.
Chase no.
Dave, come on, back me up. You had to do that.
No, I don't.
Oh.
I'm not a big fan of like taunting.
I
and
wasn't,
tormenting
I
animals.
was 12 years old. I didn't hurt them. Give me a break. All right. Our landscaping company can't cut the grass because there's just too much fecal material and it can actually damage equipment. Tom, do you agree?
Well, I don't know what kind of damage that they're looking at. I mean, they must have a tremendous amount of fecal matter, but I guess it could gum up the bottom of the cutting decks. Fortunately, like I said, we got a pretty aggressive program in place, so we're not experiencing that problem.
Okay. Audience, I would love it if you would, it doesn't have to be related to geese. We can get off the geese. Like if you could send me your water manager issues, I would love to hear about it, whether it's leaks or floods or whatever you want to throw at us. That would be terrific to get the ball rolling here. Kristine, I'm seeing leaking toilets.
Yes.
Wow, Kristine, your commentary, I'm really hitting you with some great commentary today. Canadian geese poop and leaking toilets. Tell us how you feel about leaking toilets, Kristine.
Oh my goodness. Well, a lot of times people don't know their toilet is leaking. That's the big thing I always get. Sometimes it leaks downstairs to the person downstairs, and then we give them a call and say something from your bathroom is leaking, and people say no, absolutely not. It's not my unit. So I think checking these things, definitely an ounce of prevention definitely goes a long way.
I knew someone was going to mention that, so I had this as a true and false. A running toilet can waste up to 200 gallons of water per day. That is true. And what's that, Dave?
No, it's horrible. It's a big waste of water.
Yeah.
I don't know if the audience knows, Dave is a huge animal lover and environmentalist. Would you agree, Dave? You are. Be honest.
Yeah, but not in like the eco-terrorism way, that kind of.
No, I didn't. I wasn't implying that you're out there like dressing up and throwing
Yeah,
blood on.
like the first thing I thought of when Tom was mentioning the chemical or whatever was put on the grass to make it unattractive to animals or geese. First thing I thought of was the litigation in 20 years of how many people are going to, be able to prove they got cancer from it.
I have no commentary. I'm sad. I'm sorry that's what you thought of. Okay. I thought
I'll
of
be
like,
right though. I'll be right.
I thought of like being outside and it being sunny and okay. The other comment that I found was most HOA leaks are discovered by residents reporting them. Kristine, true or false?
True. That's what I was just pretty much getting at. I think that the other residents usually, not the homeowner that has the leak, it's usually somebody else when that leak starts to go into somebody else's unit, or if somebody gets maybe a very high water bill, sometimes these things can be discovered, or if you are sending maintenance into the unit to look for something, they'll find it.
Tom, you guys know everything, you and Kristine, because Kristine, yes, that I did a ChatGPT on this one. And it said, well, they said false. They said most leaks are found by a high bill or audit. You're so far ahead. Tom, is there anything you guys don't know about leaks being a manager?
Well, you never say you know everything or seen everything, right? So
that is so true. Every day something else comes up that's brand new in this field.
My understanding, if there's a sprinkler system in use, the HOA would be responsible. I don't know, Dave, do you have a clue on that?
You mean like an irrigation system, exterior or inside a building?
I don't know which one they meant. Let's assume they meant inside the building because that's what I thought.
Well, if it's a central system, generally speaking, the system is the responsibility of the association. Individual heads might be the responsibility of individual owners. There's generally insurance coverage available for water-related occurrences, regardless of fault, meaning it wouldn't matter whether the water resulted from an owner problem or association problem. If you have the insurance, you have the coverage. Generally speaking, the entire apparatus, fire suppression system apparatus, would be a common element. Maybe the individual heads would be unit part of the unit.
Nikki, insurance commentary on indoor fire sprinklers.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he was just saying. And in South Carolina, a lot of times it may be different than where you guys are, what is covered and what's covered. But, for the most part, once it exceeds that association's deductible, a sudden and accidental overflow of water is an HOA claim. So if it's under that deductible, obviously the HOA may pick it up on another avenue, but the insurance would be, usually depending on the scenario, and the accidental overflow would be covered.
Tom, lots of commentary about dams, but also a lot of commentary about, do you have an issue with trash getting in? Why don't you take it from there? You know what I'm getting at, right?
So trash and say blowing into the lakes, or are we talking about debris?
They're talking about trash that's getting into the lakes and clogging up the system.
Okay, well, if you do have a lake with a dam, you should have some sort of trash rack on the system, and periodic maintenance is required. You should, if you already have a dam and you haven't already communicated with your engineering firm, you should have an emergency action plan to deal with any issues that may come up with the dam or the lakes, a maintenance program for that structure, whether it's maintaining the valve or cycling the valve periodically. We have our community broken up into several areas. So we have our grounds crews in those particular areas responsible for maintaining the trash racks on their respective lake.
All right, so here's a great question, and this always ends up being, it depends who I ask, quite frankly. How do you feel about no fishing and no swimming signs? Are they a plus or a minus? This comes up a lot. I'm going to start with Nikki on the insurance aspects of this, because there's a big insurance aspect to this, I think.
There is, and I would always argue that it's better for the association to, mitigate exposures where they can, and just simply having no fishing and no swimming is the easiest way to do that. However, I do know that some communities, they're all about that way of life. And it does make a difference the way that we have to insure them, and potentially, different carriers will allow certain things that others will not. I have some communities where they allow boating and fishing and all of that, and I have, the majority of them are definitely a no. So it depends on that. I will say in regards to that too, you might have a different set of exposures up in New York, New Jersey than we do down here in South Carolina and Florida, as far as wildlife and that sort of thing as well, that you may want to, consider when deciding what to do. But the safest thing, obviously, to do is to reduce the exposure where possible. So.
Kristine, this thing with signs, I noticed that it varies greatly from association to association, even within the same state and the same region. Some associations have signs everywhere, and some associations have no signs. Do you agree?
Yes, I think
Yeah,
I
and
see sign over signage is more. It's like it gets like silly with the signage where it just overstated obvious things, and plus it's an aesthetic thing too. You have just too much signage all over the place.
Nikki, were you adding commentary?
Yeah, I was just going to say, with the liability market being what it is now too, a lot of times we are getting requirements from our carriers that we prove that, there is or is not signage, and certain factors for underwriting go into that too. So some communities may be required for their insurance depending on where they're located.
Dave, I hate when I see a lot of signs. It's so stupid. I'm not against signs, I guess, but what is the deal with signs? Can't people have common sense? Like, it's obvious that you're not supposed to swim near the exhaust valve or swim in the lake. What do you think, Dave? Signs or no signs?
I guess it depends what the sign says. I mean, I think with respect to a lake, like, you know, in Tom's community, which I've seen many times, I don't know if he has signs or not there, but I haven't noticed because I don't intend to swim in his water. But you probably have to have some sort of thing there for like lawyers and stuff, right? I mean, it's just the nature of modern life. You've got to be able to point out the fact, look, there was a sign that said don't go in the friggin' water, and the guy went in the water and drowned. And, you know, you probably need that, I guess.
All right, Tom. So you have all these lakes and ponds. You probably have 1,000 danger points. I would assume there's 1,000 things that can go wrong in your community. There's 1,000 ways you could hurt yourself. You have dams, you have lakes, you have ponds, you have exhaust valves. Tell us, what is the deal with signs?
Well, like you, I'm not a fan of them, but we do know that in certain situations you have to have them. And we always get requests for signs here and there to try and address common sense or lack thereof. But when it comes to the lakes, we definitely have signs along the lakes prohibiting swimming. Fishing is allowed as long as you have the proper licensing. We also have the dam structures and spillways, so you have to provide instructions to our adult children that stay off the structure. So, but you know, so the signs we put along the lake, we also do it in a way that it kind of blends in aesthetically. But I've always made the comment, you almost need to have a sign. Please read the sign next to the sign that you want to read. So,
I think someone is making a comment, and I knew this was going to come up because it comes up all the time when we do things about signs. We don't like to have too many signs because then we're absolutely responsible to keep up with the maintenance of the signs. You know, I'll go to Dave on this. That's a major legal issue, right? Let's say you put a sign up and then it falls off and it lays on the ground. No one puts it back up, and then heaven forbid, somebody jumps in the water there and drowns. Now you're definitely going to you could definitely be held responsible for that to a certain degree,
Yeah.
right?
It's like they're building blocks of building blocks when it comes to these liabilities. You know, what things can an association / insurance company use to prevail versus what an injured person can use to prevail. You see it in the context of, like, you know, car accidents. There's street lights, and, you know, there's an accident and you find out that the street light was out that day. Well, then maybe the driver's less responsible, but the city is more responsible. You know, maybe you didn't even have to have a light there, but once you put it there, it was supposed to be lit, right? So the dynamic, I think, is the same. Everything matters. Every little thing matters in one way or the other.
Kristine, have you ever had an issue where someone was swimming where they shouldn't be swimming?
Oh, yes. We have people that, you know, hop fences, you know, do everything they're not supposed to do. Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge problem.
Tom, how about you?
yes, you know, we have particularly the pool areas, even though they're fenced off and they're locked in the evening, you'll have people jump on the fences, get swimming at night, getting tipping, whatever. But we had them even in the lakes. You know, they try to attempt to swim in the lakes as well. So.
You know, why don't you use the geese could be used? Why don't you make the geese the things that keep people from going in the water?
Well, isn't that also another legal issue? If I train the geese to attack, then I'm liable.
Geese would be
I
good.
just want to mention too, though, the safety issue of swimming when you're not supposed to be swimming. A lot of people don't realize that some of these pools are not even being maintained. They're not even open yet. They may or may not have chemicals in them. I mean, it is really not a good idea to swim where you're not supposed to be swimming.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I got a couple questions here about skinny dipping. Well, first of all, Kristine, have you ever had to deal with a skinny dipping issue? I think they're talking about professionally, not yourself personally.
Luckily, I haven't seen that one, actually. It would not shock me at all if Tom says, you know, he sees them all the time. I'm sure it's very popular.
What about it, Tom?
I didn't witness it firsthand, but there was evidence left behind.
Tom, is it safe to say in your community you have a skinny dipping issue, an epidemic?
Well, it's not, no, it's not an epidemic, but it has been reported. Unfortunately, we had to, install surveillance in those areas now to monitor.
Ugh, who wants to see that?
Yeah, right.
People are saying, yeah, it's a big, alligators are like a big thing and people can get hurt with snakes and things like that. People are saying that they had an issue with a leaky toilet when we were talking about it before, that just like ran and ran for the entire weekend. And I guess it just caused a tremendous amount of damage. I would assume that's pretty common. Right, Nikki?
Yeah. Unfortunately for everybody in that zone, yes, it's very common.
Why do all pipes have to burst at 2 a.m.? This is a legit thing, right, Kristine? I hear this all the time from managers.
Absolutely. We always get the calls from the building inspectors or whoever, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. The only thing I can think of is maybe because the temperatures drop at that time. That's the only thing I can think of, but it is notorious for being a night activity.
Tom, do most of your emergency water related issues happen at 2 a.m.?
Well, we do get a number of them in the evening hours. Unfortunately, there's no specific time. We've had them throughout the day, but that's usually when people wake up and they finally realize what's going on. Most of them are residents that went away. They didn't take proper precautions, turn the water off. You had a frozen pipe. Now that the temperatures are getting warmer, it thawed. It starts to leak, spraying the household. Hot water heater broke. Washing machine hoses are big. Make sure you turn those off.
It appears that skinny dipping is an issue because I have a lot of comments here, and it appears an issue is some people take their clothes off to get into the outside pool shower. I guess I think it's.
Oh, okay.
Why would you do that? I don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you just?
There's a sign for that.
It looks like skinny dipping is a major issue. Would you be willing to come on just wearing a bathing suit? No one would for a skinny dipping episode.
Tom?
Okay, on that one.
No shirt, no top.
No, he's asking Dave, not Tom.
Yeah, I'll ask you, Dave. We'll let the audience. I wouldn't dare ask anyone else on that. Dave, I know. Dave, we'll let the panel use their imagination whether you're wearing a suit or not. Are you willing to go that far, Dave?
No.
Okay.
I'm sure they got some filter you can use for that.
Maybe I could do AI. Underground drains and gutters are an issue for community. I actually had a lot of commentary about that. Fire sprinkler issues, vacant units, which you guys already mentioned. I guess landscapers cause a lot of damage to water systems. Nikki, that would be through, you would call your own insurance company. Really quick, what's the procedure on that? The landscaper messes up the irrigation system.
Yeah. So the community association should always make sure that their vendors, landscapers, provide a general liability certificate of insurance, an additional insured on that. And that way, if they mess something up, you've got some recourse if something like that occurs, but you're also ensuring that they have the proper coverage in place. If they mess something up, it's going to be there to provide for that. So
we had to
go back on that.
We had a maintenance crew shut down the water on the wrong building, and we didn't find out about it for half a day, and residents were really annoyed about it. So, Tom, with a big community, I could definitely see something like that happening, right?
What, with the irrigation system?
They just said shut down the wrong building. I'm assuming it was the plumbing in the building if the residents were unhappy.
Well, we haven't had that issue. I think if there's a water main break, I think we've had the local utility authority shut down the wrong section.
Well, here at my building, Kristine, it's a high rise, so it's kind of a weird setup. So they're constantly turning the water on and off, but they do a really good job with the notices. Have you ever, one thing irritates people is when their water is off. I don't know if the audience, like all of a sudden somebody can't live with their water being off for like 45 minutes. It's like, I had to take a shower at that very moment. Go ahead, Kristine. Have you ever dealt with this?
Yeah, I mean, I also think too, there's more people home during the day now, obviously. So, back at a certain time, everybody was working 9 to 5 and you shut everything down and people didn't care because they were working. But, now everybody is home all day, the 40 hours a week. So it makes it more difficult.
I don't know if you would appreciate this or not, Tom, or believe it could happen. Our building one time, I forget the circumstances, offered bottled water because the water was going to be, if you really had to have it, everybody had to have it. There's 750 units here. Everybody had to have a case of bottled water. Tom, could you see that happening?
Well, not on that scale. I don't think we've ever had to isolate the community on that large of a scale. But we do have our rec centers, so we use them as emergency shelters. We'll send out a one call, and anyone that has lost power or water, they can go to one of those facilities.
Dave, board delayed a repair vote and a small leak became an insurance claim denial. I'm going to go to Nikki next on this. Board delayed a repair vote and a small leak became an insurance claim denial. What's your feeling on that, Dave?
Well, I guess it would depend on the nature or on the terms of the insurance contract, but I don't know. I don't see why that would be why that would deny a claim. The occurrence would be insurance is there to cover things that happen because of negligence and
I
because
don't know.
things happen. So,
Nikki, it's like a maintenance issue, right? You know, you have this leak. You don't.
That's what you have
fix it.
insurance for. You have insurance for things that you don't maintain.
But Dave,
It's
you
an
just can't let the
occurrence.
leak just.
It's
you
an
can't let-
insurable.
Go ahead.
Yeah, an insurable event would be like a sudden and accidental burst of a pipe, whereas a maintenance type of an issue where you just got a leak that's just never been addressed could potentially be seen as a denial because it's not a insured event.
Well, that's true. Like an ongoing
but-
leak, I think, that caused damage might be an issue, right?
And the carriers will typically put in a clause in regards to reporting. So it may have been delayed enough for it, their late reporting requirements and such. And I did actually, I had one community where there was kind of a similar issue, and there was damage to the building from the delay, and it just so happened that the specifics of that claim put it in a situation where the D&O was not going to cover the suit that was brought against because that obviously D&O never picks up for property damage. But then also the property carrier was not, and so there was no coverage there for the insurance component. And like I always say, every claim specifics of the claim can cause a different outcome, but there are instances where it's definitely important to get the facts straight. If it's going to exceed the deductible, you get somebody in there and look at it.
So the board, Nikki, did not take action. Damage resulted. The insurance claim was denied, and then the board was sued, and their D&O didn't cover them. Is that what I heard?
Right, because the way that and Dave can acknowledge this as well, but the way that the claims are written, the suits themselves are written, is what the carrier's attorneys will argue against. And so it could have one component that does not pick up a policy language that could potentially throw it into a denial status. But in this specific instance, it was a very one of those things where a couple different things happened that usually wouldn't have happened and caused certain situations. So it definitely was not a common occurrence, and but there are instances there where your D&O is not going to pick up, and depending if it's a maintenance issue, you're not going to have the property information there either. So.
Dave, every board's going to say, oh, well, we're indemnified. We're indemnified. The association will have to protect us, even if we did everything wrong and the insurance doesn't want to cover us. What do you feel about that, Dave?
That's probably true. I mean, volunteer board members are, unless they engage in theft or, outright racial discrimination, they are indemnified by the corporation because they're volunteers. I mean, negligence is a part of life. I mean, it's very difficult to avoid it.
Kristine, how come this still comes up? Failed washing machine hoses can release more water than a fire sprinkler. I did it as true and false. It says it's true according to ChatGPT. Why are we still talking about this? There's like little gizmos you can buy and all kinds of little things that do this properly.
There is. And again, this is probably part of just having a good preventative maintenance plan at the community, having the maintenance super go around, check all of this, make sure that everything is in order, can, prevent insurance claims, and it's just part of the planning and preventative maintenance.
Tom, same question. I meant, why is this still coming up? Associations could be proactive on this, though, like Kristine was kind of getting at or mentioned.
Yeah, I think they can to a certain degree. It really depends on the level of responsibility on the association. And in our situation, it's a homeowner's responsibility for maintaining their units, not the association's. But, we try to be proactive. We're giving the information out. We're constantly putting stuff in the newsletter and talking at the meetings, bringing awareness to it. It's just, I think it's complacency in a lot of situations. And, obviously using stainless steel braided hoses is going to be a lot better than your standard rubber hose. But like you said, there's devices out there. Best method is just have contact. Well, we tell them contact our service department if you're going away, and we'll turn the water off to the unit. That's the safest way.
Dave, a lot of associations regulate air duct cleaning or dryer vent cleaning. They have programs in place. They have a lot of things. Why should washing hoses be any different? Is it because air ducts are in a common area, or is it and washing hoses aren't? Like, why do you think there should be I'm not saying you do think this, but should there be a difference?
My experience with washing hoses is simply just an insurance issue. Associations have insurance, and the insurance decides to cover water related damage, whether it's an overflowing toilet or an overflowing sink or a washer hose that bursts. There's a logic behind broad insurance. The logic is that just because the problem is a unit problem, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect everybody else. So if you have a unit that's affected by water damage and the guy never fixes it because he doesn't have his own insurance, let's say, then although no other units may be affected by nature of the water, you're going to have a unit in a building that's basically empty, that's destroyed, that's abandoned, that's waterlogged. It's going to create a value problem for the neighbors. It's going to create a draining effect of the neighborhood. Anytime you have an empty unit or a unit that's destroyed in any real estate area, it's a drag on the values across the board. So condominium associations were designed to have these insurance policies where any type of damage that could lead to that sort of thing is going to be in place.
I'm going to go to you, Nikki, in a second here. Kristine, do you have, well, I don't like to put you on the spot, but many associations, you agree, have dryer vent cleaning policies and inspections and schedules. Do you agree?
Yes, absolutely. There's various procedures, from the homeowner gets it done and sends the proof to management, from the association has a vendor that comes in and does everybody on a few days. But yes, there's typically a procedure in place.
Tom, do you have the same thing?
Yes, we have a requirement. We passed a resolution some time back about requiring dryer duct cleaning, and each owner is required to submit a certificate to the association, which we keep digitally in their digital file on their portal. We also went a bit further and negotiated with various vendors to try and get a better price. Now, residents do not have to opt to use our vendor, but they can and typically get a better price if they're using our vendor.
Kristine, do you know of any associations that have a policy, regulation, or maintenance schedule for washing machine hoses?
No.
Okay. Tom, do you?
Working with our board right now about getting some resolutions in place in regards to washing machine hoses. We do update them and ask that they continually replace them, but that and hot water heater replacement.
So Dave, I'm going to go to Nikki last, but tell me what the logic is. I can think of, I'm not going to waste time. Where does an association draw the line? Why is it okay to regulate dryer vents, but it's not okay to regulate washing machine hoses? The end result is the same thing, whether it's a fire or flooding.
I don't know there is a distinction between the two.
All right, so
Why-
why don't associations have policies on both?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know that there should be a policy on dryer vents either, frankly. But that's for each community to decide. I don't know what the difference would be. I gather anecdotally, fire potentially murders people, and water hoses that spray a lot of water don't. Right? I mean, you're unlikely to have someone die from a busted water hose, but I guess if a dryer vent catches fire, you might have people die. That might be the reason, I guess.
People are
Right.
saying, go ahead, Tom.
I think it also helps from the carrier's point of view. So if it sees that the association is being more proactive on these matters, trying to reduce risk and potential claims in the future, could help the premiums moving forward.
But where's the line, right? So somebody's saying, a lot of people said it's a safety issue. I was thinking if it has something to do with common area, right? Like a dryer vent hose sometimes. Well, sometimes they just duct directly out. Nikki, do insurance companies care about these dryer vent inspections? Are they the ones also putting pressure on the associations? And if that's the case, what's the story with, why don't they just go even further and start regulating washing hoses? And we can just go on and on and on. What's the logic here?
Well, and I've not in this area at least seen where they've been mandated to do the dryer vents. I've seen work on themselves to pay for it to be done and to be proactive. And that's the detail that I can then turn into the underwriter and say, hey, they have an annual, vent cleaning system set up, and that's helpful. The HVAC and hot water heater, hot water heaters are a huge issue. And a lot of times I think the standard is to say, anything older than 10 years needs to be replaced. It's according to their governing documents how much the board can actually do to enforce that. But outside of just making sure that boards are notifying their owners that, hey, we are a community, we're paying for insurance, claims affect that and cost us more when we have more claims. Because of that, we would like for you to manage your hot water heater, check your toilets, and that sort of thing. It is definitely proactive. Any documentation that we receive of the annual program in place is definitely something that the carriers we can get in their hands and have them potentially apply some sort of a credit. It's typically for commercial condos that we write, it's not going to be a huge credit, but it makes them look better and it makes it more attractive of a community. So.
But let me throw an argument over to Dave and then I'll move on. But now the association's taking on a responsibility. And if they don't do it, they could be now held liable for something that they may not have been before. Dave, right or wrong?
Sure, possibly. Like I said before, I mean, any liability is a sort of a moving target. You're focused on minimizing your exposure. Tom's point about trying to do things to minimize your growth and insurance costs is important. There's just a lot of different factors that you have to consider.
Kristine, there's too many factors.
Yeah, I was just about to say something just from the property management perspective only. I think that you have to figure in the resources that particular community has, whether it's a big community, a small community, they have a lot of management and on-site management, it's just portfolio because also to keep in mind, the more policies and procedures, that you have at your community, the more you're going to have to follow through with those policies and procedures. And you just want to make sure you have the means and the resources, to get it all done. Because I do see a lot of times, associations that, have all these wonderful ideas of everything they're going to require everybody to do and all this stuff. And then they really don't have a way to enforce that actually happens and back it up. And then you have things that are priority, that should be priority, not getting done, and things that maybe aren't priority, not getting done. So just something to consider.
Tom, is your pile of papers all policies and rules and regulations, true or false?
False. Most of them are the various projects we have going on here in the community. So.
How do you feel about, I think you're going to probably agree with Kristine, right? I mean, it depends on the size of your community, but how do you feel about a lot of rules and regulations and policies? Do you want to watch more stuff or not watch more stuff? Be in charge of?
Well, anytime the board or a committee approaches me on it, it's like, all right, well, how are we policing it? How are you enforcing it? It's a good idea.
Right.
But if you're not going to be able to enforce it, then what's the point of even moving forward with it?
Kristine, this comment is our hot tub clogged because of body hair. Kristine, commentary. I'm keeping the theme going.
I'm just gonna say that's gross.
Okay.
Leave it at that.
That should be censored.
That is disgusting. Tom, commentary?
No commentary.
Okay. Water damage is the most, I think this is a trick question. And I'll go to you, Kristine, if you think it's your fault. Well, I think it's a total trick question. Water damage is the most expensive and frequent HOA insurance claim. What do you think?
I really want to lean towards saying yes. I mean, I'm just because in my personal experience, there are some of the top, ones that I've seen create a lot of damage and get paid out on. So I would think yes.
I'm going to do no and yes. Tom, what do you think?
The most expensive and frequent claim, well, not in my experience. I mean, fire is the most expensive. Water damage, typically, unless it's been running for days when someone's away, it's usually just isolated to that one unit. Where fire, when you're dealing with multi-dwellings, it could impact, 2, 4, 6 families or more.
But water, Tom, is the most frequent. That's why I said it's a trick question, not fire.
Well, we've had 6 fires in the past 3 years.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had a very good track record. So we actually put in place a new policy which restricts mulch in the foundation areas. So what we had was actually 3 fires due to someone just throwing their cigarette butt and not extinguishing it and landed in the mulch.
Oh my goodness.
Nikki, that's the new and latest thing. No mulch, right? I mean, I've heard about this all over the place.
We've had several fires in the area that had, pine straw, and definitely no pine straw anymore. But yeah, that's a significant issue for everybody. And I will say that in your question, the water damage is probably the most frequent, but I would agree it's not typically the most expensive, given, the roof damage and fire damage and such.
Yeah, I know a lot of associations that are regulating the mulch because of this fire hazard. Supposedly this is a pretty common routine for a lot of different reasons. And I think that's definitely going to be a trend with the audience. I never understood the pine straw. I think that's more popular down south, Nikki. It seems like a fire hazard ready to happen. I don't understand the whole point of using it. But what's the deal with the pine straw?
Yeah.
I mean, why would you take dry grass and put it around your house?
We also have a lot of communities because we're a resort community, and but you have a lot of vacationers and such coming into the units, and start sitting out on the balcony and smoking a cigarette, and it doesn't get put out properly. So yeah, we do unfortunately have a lot of fires in this area.
So while most reports take place at 2 a.m., most water damage occurs during business hours. Do you agree, Kristine?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on what time that occurs.
ChatGPT says false, Tom. It says these things always happen on nights, weekends, and holidays. I don't.
I think it's subjective. I think perhaps maybe the leaks actually occur during the overnight, but they're actually identified during the day, and the claims are
exactly.
Okay, so I wasn't watching the time, and we're actually almost out of time. Really, really quick, like 10 seconds. Nikki, closing thoughts.
The great topic, lots of water damage and all that stuff, and just, active with your and help them come up with a plan.
Dave.
Water is a source of life, but it's causes a lot of issues.
How nice, Dave.
It is true.
Did you come up with that really quick on your own?
No, I think I heard the Pope. I think I heard the Pope say that once.
All right.
The old Pope, the Freedom Fighter Pope from like the
Kristine.
80s and 90s.
Preventative maintenance. That's it. I'll leave it at that.
Tom, is there any chance that your community is going to have a sponsored skinny dipping contest?
Oh, I doubt it.
Okay.
But,
Closing thoughts?
we could say my thoughts, certainly if you're dealing with any lakes, make sure that you do have a preventative maintenance program in place. And if you're dealing with dam structures or spillways, that you speak with your engineering firm about having an emergency action plan, because if you ever do have an issue, the DEP is going to come down on you for not having those items.
Tom, you're so calm for a guy with like so much paperwork in his office. So, oh, well, okay.
Better
All
life
right.
too, it's not pharmaceuticals, right?
I want to thank everybody for being here. Next week, we're doing a short thing on HOA governance through a feminist theory lens. We're getting really like bold here. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, panel. Thank audience. And I hope to see everybody next week. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.